Hi besties, welcome to episode 5 of The Artist's Way, a journey that I'm taking on. We are in week 2 and this week we are recovering a sense of identity. So this week addresses self-definition as a major component of creative recovery. You may find yourself drawing new boundaries, taking on new territories as your personal needs, desires, and interests announce themselves. And the essays and tools are aimed at moving you into your personal identity, a self-defined you. Note self-defined you, which is very interesting to me because my self-definition changes every single day. It has not been stable, it has not been consistent over the last I don't know how many years. I am someone who keeps hopping from one identity to another, and that's just my nature, and that has taken me a lot of time to accept. And so the topics that we're discussing this week is pretty intense, if I have to be honest. And very interestingly, this week I have not been procrastinating. And let me tell you why this is a big deal. I am someone who procrastinates or has procrastinated a lot her entire life, right? I constantly associated my self-definition with being chaotic, being messy, being unorganized, being all over the place. And I think at some point it was important or vital to my self-definition to embrace that instead of constantly trying to fix it, instead of seeing as chaos and messiness as something that needed to be fixed or changed. So there was a period in my life where I leaned into it instead of resisting it. And I feel like now I'm in that phase or stage of my life where I'm like, okay, this exists. And at the same time, organization and collecting myself and showing up as I am is more of a balm to me. And so I feel like slowly that's shifting into organization, and it's taking its own time. Like this book, what I really like about The Artist's Way so far is that it's not preachy at all, right? Julia Cameron doesn't tell you that this is what you have to do or this is what needs to be done for you to be more creative, for you to be more yourself. And instead she stresses on the fact that all of these things that you notice in yourself, you need to approach it with curiosity, not with the need to change it or need to contain it or need to completely dismantle it and generate a completely new self. So there's this one part of the book where it talks about the idea of beliefs and examining them. Yeah. So setting skepticism aside, even briefly, can make for interesting explorations. So this week particularly has been talking about skepticism and all of those sensor-activated self-doubt attacks that come our way that can hinder our creativity because we also lean into perfectionism. I'll come to that. But she says in creative recovery, and this is so, I have goosebumps. In creative recovery, it is not necessary that we change any of our beliefs. It is necessary that we examine them. Let me repeat that. In creative recovery, it's not necessary that we change any of our beliefs. It's necessary that we examine them. And this has been me my entire life. I have always hated this, discourse of a lot of self-help gurus and just self-help in general, that part of psychology. I really hate that we constantly talk about how you need to change yourself 360 degree and from inside out and constantly generate a new self, when instead you honestly, a lot of that medicine lies in just turning inward and approaching all of your belief systems with a sense of curiosity, being like, okay, why do I think this way? What does this make me feel? For example, let's take the procrastination identity that I associated with myself, right? So there was a period of my life where I was really hard on myself and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so disorganized, I'm so messy, I can't do anything right, blah, blah, blah. That's my sensor, right? Instead, this week, what has been happening almost organically in my mind is, okay, I am procrastinating and there seems to be a reason for that. Can I let that coexist with my desire to also organize small tasks in my life? So it's letting your old self and your new self in a way coexist, right? Letting that in between state exist for as long as it needs to as you grow into your new self. This is something I've seen especially on Instagram, which I absolutely hate, where a lot of people talk about how you need to destroy the old self. And while that's important, I feel like destruction without the intention of creation leads to absolutely nothing. It just leads to a sense of emptiness. It just leads to a void, right? And that can be so much more overwhelming because you're like, okay, now that I've destroyed the self, what is it gonna fill? You know, like destroying your old self does not have to be like a building just collapsing entirely and you having to like start anew all the time, right? There are points of our life which call for that. That kind of destruction is reserved or is necessary rather for certain periods of our life. But there is the kind of destruction which happens stage by stage, which can happen stage by stage, where as you're destroying layers of yourself, or rather letting go of those layers of yourself, you're also building something side by side. Does that make sense? I just realized I suddenly got too deep. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm feeling right now. Maybe this will also change as time goes by, because I'm honestly still only in week 2. But yeah, this is something I've been noticing, that I don't feel the need to put off my tasks. I feel more confident going about my day. I feel safe having a schedule. I feel safe having a to-do list. It's actually something that I look forward to now, which is crazy. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's happening on the artist's like way, the journey, right? Because there have been so many periods of my life where I've tried so hard to have a schedule, to have a to-do list, to be more organized, blah blah blah. But now it's happening in a flow state, and so it makes me feel so safe. And I actually like working. I actually like reserving blocks of my day for different tasks without going into flight and fight mode. So yeah, it's been very interesting so far. Like, as I'm going on the journey, I am slowly detaching from that perfectionism that has infected me my entire life, right? That all or nothing thinking that I'm prone to as a neurodivergent individual is slowly like breaking away and just dissolving into the surroundings. Very like quietly, very effortlessly almost, like without spiking my cortisol. And that's a very refreshing feeling. Like, as and when I am cultivating the sense of discipline every single day as part of the journey, it feels more and more, it makes sense to me as to why we constantly stress on the art of just showing up rather than showing up perfectly, showing up to your capacity rather than doing it at 100% every day. And it really adds up. It absolutely does. I'm genuinely starting to understand that as I'm living it every day now. And to think that I was so resistant to morning pages at the beginning of week 1, and it brought up so much, but now I literally look forward to morning pages every single day. It's actually wild to me that has happened. But yeah, so week 2 has been going well, touch wood. And I'm gonna be having my artist date as well on Friday morning. I have literally had to make a calendar and like block that time so that I don't skimp on the quality time that I need to have with myself. So yeah, that's it for episode 5. Oh my gosh, I got a little deep and all that. But this is also my way of showing up imperfectly and not like censoring my mind and like overly scripting and editing and all that jazz. We don't do that here. Not on YouTube, at least for now. So yeah, you can find the previous 4 episodes of The Artist Way on my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram. If you want, you can like, comment, and subscribe if that's your drift. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.